Hello, everyone, and welcome to a very special edition of Midas Touch. I'm Bobby Jones, and I'm very honored to have with me Ambassador Bridget Brink, who is running for United States Congress in Michigan. We've had the chance to talk to her earlier, but I wanted to touch back in now that we are in the dog days of summer and we're on a sprint to the actual midterm elections. Ambassador, how are you doing today?
Commander, great. It's great to be here. Thank you so much.
No problem. No problem. So there are things that are happening all over the world. There are things happening within the United States. I wanted to get your take on all of it. First, let's start with international. The war in Ukraine continues. It seems as though the United States has basically just bowed out of that. And obviously, the self-inflicted conflict, is, as the president is calling it, with Iran has started. Based on those two major issues that the world cares about, what is your take on how the current administration is handling things? What would you do different?
Well, thanks for that question. It's such an important one. I think the bottom line is that we're taking ourselves off the field in terms of Ukraine. By not supporting Ukraine, this is the biggest threat to peace and security in Europe since World War II. We are not helping to uphold the freedom for Ukrainians, but also the European Union and ourselves. So it's a big mistake. And if, for those who watch closely, last week, Putin launched one of the biggest attacks against the capital, killed a number of people, and also sent nuclear-capable ballistic missiles to Ukraine cities. This attack was across the country. It is horrific. The fact that we're not doing more to support them is just plain wrong. It's not who we are. And I think that's number one. What we would need to do, I believe, is actually be the leaders of the free world, as we have been, in a way that supports not just Ukraine, but our friends, our allies, our democratic partners around the world. With regard to Iran, this situation is one where I believe that Trump has entered into a war without a plan, without a strategy, without an end game. He's putting our service members' lives at risk. He's also costing the American people tens of billions of dollars. I think it was 28 billion at the last count I saw. This is incredibly irresponsible and bad for the United States on multiple levels, and there's no easy way out. The Strait of Hormuz was open before this war started, and now it's closed. And as a result, in Michigan, it's affecting us directly. You know, the price of gas has nearly doubled, and what we see is that products across the board are more expensive, hurting our farmers, hurting our auto workers, hurting every single working family. So I believe that what's happening in regard to our foreign policy has a direct and negative impact on all of us at home, and we need to change it. We need to change it now.
I think that's a great lead into my next question. You talk about the cost of various items just to live your life in Michigan, in the United States, and really around the world. One of the things that people are desperately talking about is the cost of healthcare. You have had to deal with major health issues in the past, right? What are your thoughts on these escalating healthcare prices, especially in Michigan? Because I've seen various reports about this.
Well, thanks so much for that question. This comes up at every single forum, coffee meeting that I have in the district. And in fact, it's really personal to me because last summer I was diagnosed with stage 1 breast cancer, as 1 in 8 women are in our country. And I had to have surgery, and I'm now cancer free. But that surgery cost $100,000, which is a tremendous amount of money for anybody to have to face. And what we have in America right now is a system that without health care, people are unable to meet the basic needs of themselves and their families. And what we're seeing from Tom Barrett, my opponent, is every single vote he is taking is making healthcare more expensive and less accessible. So whether it's the big ugly bill, which knocks 25,000 people off of Medicaid in my district alone, only after the midterms, it's very cynical, or it's failing to extend the ACA subsidies, which are very needed for people to maintain health care at a reasonable cost. Every single vote is parroting Trump, is supporting the Republican Party in a way that is bad for our district. And this is a big problem. I believe we can do and we must do better. This is something that affects us all. And we don't know when we might turn around and have a healthcare problem or a problem that someone we love has. And it costs more money than we can deal with at any given moment. We have to fix it. And I'm determined to go to Congress and do just that.
The fact that Congress passed this bill and there was little resistance on the Republican side, even though they had the data from OMB, from all sorts of groups saying that this was going to happen, really caught a lot of Americans, I think, off guard. It requires political courage to go against the President of the United States. You have demonstrated that already. You were the ambassador to Ukraine and you resigned because of what this current administration wanted to do regarding Ukraine. Can you talk about just what it takes to have political courage and what you've learned from that actual experience?
Yeah, well, thanks for that question. Look, it was frankly quite a heartbreak for me to realize that I couldn't in good conscience carry out the job that I very proudly did every single day for over 28 years, which is to serve and defend and protect our Constitution and advance our values and our interests overseas. And when I realized this at the beginning of the administration, at the beginning of the Trump administration, I realized I had to not only resign, but I also needed to do more. I needed to speak out and then come home and run for Congress. I just feel that what's at stake right now is so big and so important that all of us need to do whatever we can to stop Trump and his administration's agenda, which is hurting every single person in our country, and it's certainly hurting every single working family in our district. And I took that decision not lightly, but I feel it was the right thing to do. The same reason I went to Ukraine at the request then of the president. I went to Ukraine because I believed it was the right thing to do and I could use my skills and my experience to help a country stay free. And then, sadly, at the end of my time there, I felt that what I had to do is stand up and help protect my own country. And it's things like what I spent a lifetime doing in terms of my public service was supporting young democracies and working with democratic partners to strengthen them. And the things that I'm seeing now at home, including pressure on the media, pressure on business, pressure on universities, weaponization of our justice system against perceived enemies, misuse of security service to go against our own citizens at home. This is not something I ever believed would happen in our country. This is what I saw and dealt with overseas over a career. But this is what's happening. And in addition to this, it's a corruption at a level that I have never seen before. And I know what a threat these things are to any democracy, including our own. And maybe I just feel, based on my own experience, that this is something that requires us to stand up and fight against and to fight for the values that founded our country. It's freedom, it's democracy, it's rule of law. It's independent institutions, including media. It's independent agencies within our government. It's an independent judiciary. I think these are the core foundation of what has made us a great and a strong country. And this is really what's at risk right now. And I believe that this is why I had to do it. And I'm very gratified to see how many people also feel the same way and who are looking for ways that we can be the country that we are, one that leads the free world, that cares about its people at home, that has leaders that are serving our people but not themselves. This is who we have to be. This is who I'm fighting for us and fighting for my district.
That's a great lead into my final question. As you campaign in the 7th district there in Michigan, what are you seeing from the people that you really want to focus in on your campaign and when you get to Washington if you win?
Yeah. Well, we've knocked 10,000 doors. When I came back to run for office, I made it a point to make sure that I got to every corner of our district, and it's quite a big district. And what I hear after that and over this last year is basically three things. It's that costs are too high, and they see them rising. And what we're seeing from Tom Barrett is that these votes that he's taking to enable the reckless tariffs, to support the Iran war, are making everything from groceries, gas, to health insurance more expensive. The second thing, making healthcare more accessible and affordable. And again, this is something that what's happening with President Trump and how Tom Barrett, the Republican representative in my district, is essentially voting to make healthcare more expensive and less accessible. And finally, it's defending our rights and freedoms. And it's making sure that we are the country that of our foundation, and that we are defending people's right, whether it's the right to vote, whether it's the right to make their own health care choices, whether it's the right to be able to follow their dreams. This is what's at stake right now, is that people don't feel that the American dream is possible. I'm the product of the American dream. I grew up I'm a sixth-generation Michigander. My family comes from the district, a family of farmers, auto workers, teachers. My mom was a first-generation college graduate from MSU, which is in our district. And because I had support from my family, because I was able to go to great public schools in Michigan, I was able to follow my dreams. And I eventually I joined the Foreign Service. I became a 2-time ambassador. I worked for 5 presidents. I had a reputation for bold action. I had 3 questions for anyone who asked me if they could do something. Is it immoral, illegal, or unethical? And if your answer is no, 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 then go. We have to do it. Don't wait for Washington to tell you it's okay. Have them come back to me if they have a problem. And they never did. I believe that this is a moment where we need bold action, and where we need people who understand what's at stake and who have the skills and the contacts and the experience to be able to help us come back to who we are. And I'm committed to doing that. This election's going to be really tough. I don't think it's going to be easy. There's a primary on August 4th, and there's a general, of course, in November. And we're leading in all areas. On polling, we're double digits ahead. On endorsements, I have more endorsements than anyone else in the race. On fundraising, I've raised more than anyone in my race, but more than that across Michigan. But to me, that's not enough. What I think is the most important thing that I hear from people in our district is that they just want someone who will stand up to Trump, who will do the right thing, who will deliver and serve the district. And that's what I'm committed to doing on every single front.
Madam Ambassador, I cannot thank you enough for your prior service, for what you're doing now, for the hard work you're doing, not just for Michiganders, but by trying to help out your fellow American, no matter where they are. So we really appreciate the time. Please, ladies and gentlemen, go to the ambassador's website. It'll be in the description, but take a look at her platform. You cannot just find experience, especially on the international stage, just anywhere like this. This is unbelievable. I'm glad that you're in good health, and I look forward to talking to you in the future after you win.
Thank you, Commander. It's great to see you. It's great to be here. Thanks for all you're doing, and thank you for your service. And for all your listeners as well. Really appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you.